Our fans send us their security cam videos wild and wacky, and we pick out the best ones to show you here on Wham Baam Securitycam. Today we've selected the cream of the crop and put them into a single special episode, so sit back and enjoy the top 25 Securitycam videos from 2024 so far. Our first video of this episode shows what's likely to happen when someone runs from the police. Thankfully, Christian wasn't directly involved in this collision, but he was a little close for comfort. He was driving his Tesla Model Y when he noticed a vehicle heading straight for him. He managed to get out of the way just in time, and we can see in the other angle that the fleeing vehicle already looks damaged. According to Christian, the vehicle was stolen. It didn't get far before crashing head-on into another SUV. After the collision, the suspects tried to flee the scene, but they were quickly apprehended by the police that were hot on their tails. What a way to start today's episode! There's more excitement to come, so let's keep going. Here's a video from a familiar submitter. He's already been featured in a previous episode, and he's back with another video from the storage unit business he owns. This time, the property damaged belonged to a tenant instead of to our submitter. He told us a tenant accessed the property via the gate shortly before midnight on the 5th, which is important to remember when you see what happened next. After he was done loading items into his pickup, he tried to leave, but there was a problem. It was now past midnight and technically the next day. Our submitter said the tenant had failed to pay his bill, and when the new day started, he was automatically locked out, actually locked in, when his gate code was deactivated. In his defense, the tenant did try to contact our submitter, but sadly, he didn't get the messages until the next day. After waiting for about an hour, the tenant decided to take matters into his own hands by going around the gate. It didn't take long before he'd gotten stuck on the landscaping rocks that are there to prevent vehicles from driving there. Somehow, he eventually managed to make it through, but there was clearly damage done to the pickup as evidenced by the debris and trail of leaking fluid left behind. Unsurprisingly, our submitter informed the tenant that he's no longer welcome as a customer even if he does pay his bills on time. Weston sent us a video from his parking lot security cam that captured a semi turning in front of an oncoming car. Thankfully, neither driver was injured. Weston told us he's been watching Wham Baam Tesla Cam for a while, and there have been a ton of accidents around this area, but this is the first one he's captured on his security cam. Thanks for sending it in, Weston. He wanted to remind our viewers to always be watchful and aware of your surroundings, no matter where you are. Ed is wondering where this guy came from and why he was at his door. Before coming to the door, this lost Jedi, as Ed refers to him, wandered up to the gate and checked out Ed's EV charger hanging on the wall. Next, he forced open the locked gate and proceeded to snoop around Ed's yard. After coming around to the back of the house and greeting the security cams, he tested the door handles. Thankfully, they were locked. He showed interest in some shoes by the door, but he didn't steal them. In fact, he just rearranged them to his liking. Sadly, Ed told us he did end up stealing the blue mat he was standing on, seen here over his shoulder. That's not the only thing he stole. Right before he left, when Ed's dog began barking, he picked the one and only lime growing from Ed's lime tree. Ed told us that lime had taken years to grow, and he was really disappointed. After stealing the fruit of Ed's labor, the guy finally wandered off. Remember to always lock your doors and keep your security cams running so you can capture incidents like this. Ed reported the situation to the police, and he told us his wife didn't mind losing the mat since she never really liked it anyway. William and his sister were inside his house when they heard a loud bang from outside. At first, they didn't think much of it, but a neighbor quickly came knocking on their door to tell them they had footage of what had caused the sound. Let's take a look at what their security cams had captured. Sadly, the parked vehicle that had been smashed into was William's sister's car. He told us the driver who'd caused the collision was driving under the influence and was also on their phone. As for what happened after the collision, William told us, "Don't get me started on insurance." In any case, we're just glad your sister wasn't anywhere near her car when this happened. Don's visitor came to see if there were any tasty morsels in his hanging flower baskets, but they were just barely out of reach. The bear tried a few strategies, even stretching out against the nearby pillar, but he eventually moved on. What he moved on to was Don's fish pond. Thankfully, he was only thirsty that evening and decided against any late-night fishing. After getting a drink, he wandered over to the patio furniture before stopping for a moment to enjoy the view of the skyline. He then checked some more hanging baskets, took one last stretch against the umbrella, and finally continued on. Ah, what a life. I wonder how he can bear it. What, was that too much? Here's a case of someone having too much time on their hands and using that extra time to cause trouble. This guy wandered into Sam's parking lot before using a knife to slice into a Tesla charging cable. He wasn't able to cut through it completely, but that just made him start searching for a new target. He set his sights on an insulated faucet cover which stood no chance against his knife. What a renegade! He moved on after getting bored, but not before trying to put the cover back. How thoughtful. Okay, never mind. Sam told us he called an electrician and is waiting to see if the Tesla charging cable can be repaired or if he'll have to replace it. Of course, the electrician wasn't the only person he called. He also made a police report, but he didn't tell us if anything else happened. Sam wanted to shout out Z, who always watches our episodes with him. Thanks, you two. Imagine coming outside one morning to discover this on your lawn. Of course, Jordan didn't just discover it, he heard it happen at the same time that his security cam captured the incident. According to Jordan, nobody was seriously injured. The driver's father arrived at the scene before first responders because the driver lived in the neighborhood. Allegedly, the driver became somehow distracted by a passenger while driving through the neighborhood and drove into a tree instead. Jordan is thankful that the tree stopped the car before it reached his parked vehicles or his house. We've seen vehicles challenge trees before, and the score is always the same: tree 1, car 0. Adrian was at work with his vehicle parked next to the vehicle of another resident. Neither of them could have anticipated that both their vehicles were about to be the victims of the dreaded pedal misapplication. That retaining wall couldn't stop a car crashing over it when the driver gave it a little extra gas by mistake. We're not sure how the driver managed to get out, but we were told that nobody was injured. Just imagine sitting in your parked vehicle and boom, an SUV drops from the sky. Adrian told us the process of getting a tow truck to come move the SUV off the vehicles was a nightmare that took hours. But one finally arrived after police responded to the scene. Sadly, both vehicles were totaled. Hopefully that retaining wall gets extended to prevent something like this happening again in the future, but if not, Adrian might want to consider parking somewhere else. Check out what happened in this clip Steve sent us. Oh man, that trailer cut through the red pickup like butter. The other driver is lucky the trailer didn't tip over and take his pickup with it. The pickup driver obviously took the tight corner way too fast. It seems like he either wasn't looking where he was going or he wasn't expecting anybody to be there. Then again, maybe he's never hauled a trailer before, but we doubt that since the pickup looks like a work truck. Hopefully he learned his lesson after what was definitely an expensive mistake. Steve told us that nobody looked to be injured, and he gave his security cam footage to the officer investigating the collision. After the officer watched this video, we're sure he had no question as to who was at fault. William is another repeat submitter. He sent us a video of someone crashing into his sister's car right outside his house. This time, his own property was victimized. 3 guys arrived on a single motorcycle. We've heard of clown cars, but this is the first time we've seen a clown motorcycle. I guess it's fitting considering what these clowns did next. Two of them tried to steal William's locked motorcycle. At least they finally realized that one motorcycle is too small to hold them all. Thankfully, it seemed like their attempted theft was unsuccessful as they walked away empty-handed. Then, one of them decided to give it another shot and started to haul the motorcycle away. William found out about the theft when 7 cops arrived to inform him about it. He didn't tell us how they'd found out, but perhaps someone else had witnessed the crime being committed. The motorcycle was later found abandoned along with another one. The thieves had damaged it in an attempt to get it started without the key, and they'd also broken off its mirrors. There were tire tracks in the field where the motorcycles were found, so the clowns clearly had some fun joyriding them before leaving them behind. William thinks his insurance provider will total his motorcycle due to the damage, but he didn't tell us if the clowns were ever caught. Tim told us there had been severe freezing for 12 hours when his wife attempted to pull into their driveway. Thankfully, she wasn't injured, but her airbags did deploy. He told us this same thing happened a year ago, only that time a neighbor had hit their mailbox, and it was in a completely different spot. Tim's insurance provider had their SUV towed to Copart where it's waiting to be evaluated. I guess it's time to repair the mailbox again, and maybe try another spot this time. He asked us to shout out Abby and Lorelei, and he told us they all like to watch our channels before bedtime. By the way, there was also a dash cam in the SUV, but to see that footage, you'll have to go subscribe to Wham Baam Dashcam. A driver tried to cut across several lanes to reach his destination one rainy night, but his maneuver didn't go as smoothly as he'd intended. An oncoming driver struck the vehicle and sent it spinning. Not only did it hit a sign pole, it also smashed rear first into our submitter's office building. The video shows the door bending under the force of the impact. Our submitter told us there was over $87,000 of structural damage as a result of the collision. That's more than his family paid for the building in the first place, so it may have to be demolished and rebuilt. Our submitter's uncle was actually in the building at the time of the wreck, and he was able to quickly save the security cam footage. Good thinking. The drivers involved were able to walk away without any obvious injuries. Is keeping Christmas lights up until April normal? We know it's hard to put them up and take them down again year after year, but this guy had enough of the holiday cheer. He felt so strongly that Brian's mother's Christmas lights should come down, he decided to do her a favor and remove them himself. That's nice, only she has no idea who this is, and she didn't want them taken down. Brian said they didn't even notice the lights were gone until the next day. His mother made a police report, but they haven't done anything about it and probably never will. As long as this Grinch is roaming around, you might want to keep your Christmas decorations hidden, or you might become his next target. This Jeep belongs to Kyle, and it's been parked here for about 6 months. It was meant to be a project car for him to work on with his daughter, but after what you're about to see, the project will end up being more difficult than he'd planned. While making a delivery, a gig driver left her vehicle in drive before it rolled into and under Kyle's Jeep. A few minutes later, she came running back to her car before going back and forth around the two vehicles, trying to figure out what to do. Obviously, what she should have done was take responsibility for her mistake, but what do you think she ended up doing? Post your theory in the comments while we watch her try to rescue her trapped car. At one point, it looks like she tried to push her car out from under the Jeep, which obviously didn't work. Finally, she managed to get inside her car through the passenger door before reversing out from under the Jeep, leaving it pushed up on the sidewalk and against a retaining wall. Now for the moment of truth. Did she take responsibility or did she just take off? Yep, she fled the scene. You don't get a prize if you were right, but we are giving away a Wham Baam Securitycam hat later in this episode, so keep watching. After a lot of research, talking to his neighbors, and emailing the delivery company, Kyle finally identified the driver, and she got a visit from the police. Kyle told us she was charged with felony hit and run and cited for driving without insurance. Sadly, the Jeep was totaled, and we don't think Kyle plans to work on it after all. Angela told us her dog Remy decided he wanted to come back inside. The only problem was the door was shut, so he did what any smart doggo would do. He rang the doorbell. His owner answered and let him back inside.
Hello, who is it?
Aw, happy tail. Okay, that one was for the dog lovers, so here's one for the cat lovers. Mick sent us footage of two cats meeting at the food bowl, but it wasn't a friendly meeting. One of the cats made clear what he thought about the other joining him for a meal. Is it just us, or does that cat sound like it's telling the other one no? The cat continued vocalizing his displeasure, sounding a lot like me when I sing in the shower. Wait, who wrote that? Our next video comes from a submitter who filled us in on all the juicy details. After his neighbor got into a heated argument with his ex, she took out her frustration on his pickup truck. She made sure to get clear of the pickup, but not before lining it up to smash into a power pole. Our submitter told us she ran back to her own car and fled the scene. Minutes later, his neighbor discovered his pickup and our submitter called the police. He doesn't know if the neighbor's ex was given a citation once police caught up with her, but he did tell us his neighbor is pressing charges for her vandalism of his pickup. Our submitter's mother was backing out of their driveway one day on her way to take our submitter and her siblings to school. Sadly, after what happened next, they wouldn't be making it to class on time. According to our submitter, the speeding driver didn't appear to even try to slow down before hitting them. While the drivers were exchanging information, one of our submitter's family members noticed the other driver's phone up on her dashboard, leading them to believe she'd been driving distracted. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, and the other driver's insurance provider is paying to fix the damage to our submitter's family's vehicle, which is currently in the shop. Jace sent us this video of his beautiful yard. Sadly, it was about to receive an unwelcome visit in the form of a pickup driver who seemed to want a closer look. Jace told us the pickup driver actually collided with a VW Beetle off camera before losing control, crashing through the yard and smashing into Jace's garage. Let's replay the clip, and this time, listen for the pickup's impact with the Beetle. Jace also said a brand new BMW X7 was parked in his garage, but thankfully it was only minimally damaged. That's good news. Even better is the fact that the pickup driver's dog, who'd been riding in the truck at the time, was uninjured. The pickup was a company vehicle, so Jace filed a claim with the business's insurance provider. The bill for fixing the damage to the yard, the garage, and the BMW added up to a whopping $56,000 US. According to Ethan, a group of teenagers pulled up to his house in a stolen van before damaging his house, as well as his BMW that's off camera with crowbars and other tools. After damaging his house and vehicle to the tune of 24,000 pounds, over $30,000 US, the teens ran off. We're only guessing the people chasing them are Ethan and someone else. Thankfully, Ethan told us the police arrested the vandals, but his BMW will likely be totaled by his insurance provider. We're just thankful that only property was damaged and nobody was injured by these hoodlums. Matt woke up to find a notification from his security cam that someone had walked past his side door. When he looked at the recorded footage, he found two people dressed in black sneaking by. Okay, more like running by. What were they running from, you ask? That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. Let's see what Matt found as he continued reviewing the recording. Police were hot on their tails as they chased them around Matt's neighborhood. It looks like it didn't take long to apprehend them, and they were marched back to one of the police vehicles after being arrested. Matt told us his neighbors had been discussing vehicle prowlers in the area on a local neighborhood group, and he suspects these individuals may be related. Once the suspects were caught, the police were kind enough to go back and close Matt's gate. Hopefully that will help stop any future trespassers from running through his yard. Raul sent us this video of one of the cats that lives in his neighborhood. He told us the cat was practicing his acrobatic skills. Keep watching to see what he's talking about. It seems the cat also needs to practice his decisiveness. Come on, you can do it. Okay, maybe the cat needs a bit more practice. Raul told us neither the camera nor the cat were damaged in the attempt. That's it, buddy, walk it off. Raul wanted to shout out his wife Priscilla, who's also a fan of our videos. This intersection sure has a nice stop sign. I hope it isn't a sign that anything bad is about to happen. Check out this SUV with a mismatched hood that pulled up to their stop sign and stopped. Good job, Chevy driver. They proceeded to wait patiently, a bit too patiently actually, but watch what happened when a car came up behind them. Well, that's definitely a creative way to take your turn at a four-way stop. The SUV ended up on the curb after narrowly avoiding taking out a brick mailbox, and when the driver backed up, they ripped their front bumper cover loose. Thankfully, the only damage done was a groove left in the grass, and the bumper cover the Chevy driver left behind, of course. An unknown vehicle pulled up next to his car, and though our view isn't great, we can still hear something hitting the car and the sound of glass shattering. You may think they're just breaking in to steal something, but doesn't using an axe to smash out the windows seem like overkill? James told us the same person attacked several more vehicles parked on the same street. We can even hear more glass breaking off camera in the video he sent us. Sadly, the police told him they couldn't do anything about the vandalism without a license plate number. As we suspected, James told us he should have listened to the warnings and not moved to Portland. If you've enjoyed this sample of what our channel has to offer, be sure to check out our most recent episode for more awesome Securitycam videos. Or watch our top 100 video if you just want to keep watching the best of the best. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.
Wham Bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.